Bear down, Chicago Bears. Another day, another training camp, another impressive outing for Caleb Williams as he continues to impress the Chicago Bears with his poise, with his throwing, and with his ability to read these defenses. And by the way, this is one of the better defenses in the league in the Chicago Bears, making it very difficult for Caleb Williams to come along. However, again, uh, Matt Eberflus has been adamant that this is the path forward. This is what's going to happen. He is going to put Caleb Williams under fire to see how well he does or does not do. So far, so good. If you like this type of content, make sure that you hit the like button on your way in. Made a few changes to it, but we're going to keep this pretty quick for you today. So, yesterday there was what was called a gut check moment with the Chicago Bears in their 2-minute drill. Now, the way that this played out, Williams opened the drive with a 9-yard completion to DeAndre Carter and a 3-yard hookup to Colin Johnson. It should be noted that some of the veterans, this was veteran kind of day off here. So you didn't see a few of these guys out there. Keenan Allen was not in the lineup. DJ Moore, I think, had the day off as well. So you're dealing with a few of the other players at this point. 4-yard completion to running back Khalil Herbert set up a 2nd and 6 to the opposing 45. Edge rusher Jacob Martin blew past right tackle Darnell Wright. This is, again, another day where Montez Sweat and Jacob Martin are just abusing Darnell Wright at this point for what could have been a sack, but Caleb Williams stepped up and took off for a 16-yard scramble. Cornerback Tyreek Stevenson was also flagged for holding on the play to set the offense up at the 24. Williams then hit Rome Odunze in the middle for a gain of 10 and then found DeAndre Carter again for 7 to get the offense within the 10-yard line with under 30 seconds to go. And then the Bears defense buckled down. On 2nd and 3, rookie Austin Booker got quick pressure, and then Caleb Williams' pass to Khalil Herbert fell incomplete. On 3rd down, Williams dropped back and tried to thread the needle to Odunze in the back corner. Stevenson jumped the route and got a hand on the pass to break it up. With 16 seconds left, Williams and the offense faced a 4th and 3 from the 7. Williams dropped back and saw Cole Kmet come open over the middle. He let it rip towards his tight end, but Tremaine Edmonds closed fast, broke up the pass to win the drill for the defense. This was a very good outing, not just, by the way, for Caleb Williams. Now, did they score? No. He's a rookie. They're going to have moments where these things do not happen, and he did not have all of the tools in the arsenal, if you will. DJ Moore did not participate. Keenan Allen had the day off. Mercedes Lewis was not there. And Mercedes not going to make a whole lot of catches, obviously, but it does change the dynamic of the team when your number one guy, DJ Moore, is not available. It did give him an opportunity to work with Cole Kmet, with Rome Odunze, with DeAndre Carter. Even Roshan Johnson got his hand in. And also another big day for the forgotten name. The forgotten name on this team is Tyler Scott. He had another 40-yard completion in 11-on-11 drills. And Tyreek Stevenson, by the way, blew coverage on that. And that's very interesting to see what's going on right now with this team. But let's talk about something that happened here, a little bit weird. And by the way, reports that came out did say that they thought that Caleb Williams really looked especially sharp today, that though he did not have the big plays that you really want to see when it matters. When you're in that red zone, you didn't score, and you want to see this guy start to score. You want to see him do it, and you want to see him be able to do it against the Chicago Bears defense. Why would you like to see that? Well, we're going to get into that. But the Chicago Bears defense is, I think, in my opinion, getting a little bit slept on. Now, according to Adam Johns, the ball was coming out very quickly. He goes through his progression super fast. He climbs the pocket. He's looking really good. He has a long way to go to become this is according to Dan Weeder. Caleb Williams still has a long way to go to become a top-tier NFL quarterback. But man, oh man, oh man, some of the quarterback feel stuff that he shows, it's in there. and the specialness of him is there. Stacey Dales, who was from the NFL Network, and she was at practice, said she was impressed with everything she saw, said that he looked especially sharp, and it's artistry to watch him on the field with a football. Now, guys, these are exciting times for Chicago Bears fans. If you are looking for that update from Caleb Williams about, what does he look like? How is he doing? How are things progressing on the field? And so far, so good. However, Coleman Shelton also was the starter at center for the Bears. So let's move on from there and talk about Montez Sweat. Now, this is from the NFL.com, and they gave a ranking just recently. And the question is, why has Montez Sweat's effect appeared to go under the radar in the NFL? The top 100 countdown from the NFL came out the other day. Number 82 was Montez Sweat. The question is whether any remaining Bears will get on the list if Sweat is number 82. Cornerback Jalen Johnson might be on the list, but let's talk about this. There's a lot to like about all of the players, of course, but the reveal has been down to number 71 so far. So it could be that no others are going to show up. But what is it about Montez Sweat that doesn't have the NFL? What doesn't have people excited about this team? And really, it comes down to this: they don't feel that the Montez Sweat effect is going to apply to the right side of that line. I think that they're making a mistake. There's some very interesting things that are going on with the lineup right now. And I think that when it comes down to it, something very, very, very interesting happened in practice yesterday. And look, DeMarcus Walker yesterday defended Caleb Williams from a few labels, if you will. DeMarcus Walker is that guy on the end, or is he? At this point, things are starting to get a little bit weird. One of the questions that we've been asking ourselves for a while was, are the Bears going to be able to get pressure? Is there going to be somebody on that other side of the line? Is there? And it seems like the answer, why are they not going out? Why do they not go get Emmanuel Agba? Why do they not go out? Why do they not pick up Yannick Ngakoue? Dave Wannstedt said they'll probably do that towards the end of training camp to get somebody in just in time. But guess what? It looks like they might be able to stand pat from where they are. So let's talk sweat effect. Christy Hetherington from NFL.com points out that the most important non-quarterback to watch in the upcoming season for the Chicago Bears is going to be Montez Sweat. In the 2023 season, Sweat posted career highs with 57 combined tackles and 12 and a half sacks while forcing 72 quarterback pressures to earn his first Pro Bowl selection and spot in the top 100 after 5 seasons in the league. Far bigger than any of that is the Sweat effect, which made the rest of the Bears' defense effective. When the defense went from 6 interceptions to 22, from 10 sacks to 30, from 28 in points to 20th, and from 23rd in total defense to 12th in 9 weeks, they had Sweat, and that is what made an obvious impact. It's huge, according to Dexter, it's huge having a guy like that because he's a multiplier. They're going to move Sweat around now, something he wasn't really allowed to do much until now. Some could see this as a sign of how valuable he is, but it's really more of a sign of the rest of the line isn't good enough to let him stay where he plays best. They need him to do everything and more. The offensive line don't know where to go, and we know exactly where they're going to go, says Bears defensive tackle Andrew Billings. It's like, all right, he's going to be on this side, then I've got a one-on-one on this side now. Offensive line, they'll have to flip the whole call because he's going to be somewhere else. Sweat belonged higher on the list than number 82, according to her, and if any of the Bears appear in the list far ahead of where he ranks, then they will be overrated at this point. So interesting times here. A lot of people super bullish on Montez Sweat and the effect that he's going to have. And by the way, that effect is already being felt on the field because Montez Sweat and the Bears, by the way, Eric Washington is saying this. They hope to have the top pass rush unit in the NFL in 2024. And you might be asking yourself, look, we've been here long enough. Where's the pass rush going to come from? Look, we had 8.5 sacks, by the way, I think on the right end when you toll up everything that happened, not Dominique Robinson, I don't think he really had anything to do with it, but between DeMarcus Walker and Yannick Ngakoue, I think we had 8.5 sacks total for the course of the season. So, I mean, you can make do with 8.5 sacks from that position. And if Gervon Dexter is as good as advertised, and they are raving about him, and in fact, we're going to talk about him at the close of this because he is the featured player on the ChicagoBears.com website for today. If these things happen and they go the way that we kind of expect that they're going to go, and some of these moves that they're making right now pay off, then this team could be much, much better than the sum of its parts right now. Right now, we're looking at Montez Sweat and the gang. But what if Gervon Dexter is as good as advertised? What if he's ready to go? What if Andrew Billings just a tad better? What if DeMarcus Walker is just a tad better than he was last year? What if the substitutions are very, very good? So here's how this breaks down. Chicago Bears defense greatly improved in the second half of the season, obviously. Eric Washington has said that pass rush is the focus for the team going into it. The Chicago Bears secondary has already proved it's a solid pass defense unit. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, and Kevin Byard are all strong coverage defenders. And in fact, there is some stuff out right now talking about how Kevin Byard might be the best player on this defense. We just don't know it yet because we haven't seen it. But I digress. A dominant pass rush will also make the secondary's job much easier. Now, remember, Chicago Bears were the number one pass rushing defense last season, but they were number 25 in pass defense. I'm sorry, in rushing defense, and they were number 25 in pass defense, and that is a huge problem. But we all kind of agree here that Jalen Johnson's pretty elite at this point. Tyreek Stevenson did a very good job as a rookie. Jaquan Brisker having a nice season. Eddie Jackson, maybe not as much, but we kind of decided Kyler Gordon, Terrell Smith, these guys are really stepping up to the plate and they are having some really good games. Now, if that's the case, why are we ranked so low in pass? Well, pass rush. So the focus right now is the pass rush. A dominant pass rush is going to make the secondary's job easier. Most of the greatest defenses start with a brutal pass rush. Chicago Bears have a star edge in Montez Sweat. The Bears also have a rookie with major high upside who we're going to talk about in just a moment in Austin Booker because he is starting to look scary in practice along with one other guy, which is going to allow some changes to this defensive line that we're going to talk about in just a moment. Then comes, by the way, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button on the way in. The best pass rushes are more than one or two players. The whole front seven needs to be on their game. Now, one of the things that this Bears team does like to do is not blitz a whole lot so far. That Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, and Jack Sanborn don't seem to be really into rushing the pass. They want to do it with their front four, and they want to have their linebackers engaged in shoring everything up and correcting any mistakes out there, and also providing coverage in the middle of the field. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see how they manage this whole process. But that front seven, very important here. The Lions were 1 quarter away from playing in the Super Bowl in 2023, and the Bears pretty much own them. So let's consider that this team is not that far away from being very, very competitive. Okay. Now, for that to be the case, let's move on for one moment before we get back into the defensive line, because guess who lit it up again today? Tyler Scott had 45-yard reception. He is a 4th-round pick, did not have a lot going on. 160, I think he had 160 yards receiving last season with Justin Fields. But for the Bears to take a step forward, they're going to need to have guys like Tyler Scott making big plays. And guess what? In practice, he has stepped up tremendously. And what we're looking for is that 4th guy. That's the one that we need. We know what DJ Moore brings to the table. We know what Keenan Allen brings to the table. We think we know what Rome Odunze brings to the table. So we're looking for that number 4 guy. And right now, Tyler Scott is making a lot of noise. Some wondered if he had the mental and physical toughness to handle the NFL, and it appears having a quarterback with accuracy makes a big difference. Caleb Williams keeps finding him for big plays almost every day. This was an over the shoulder on Sunday. There was an over the shoulder throw for 30 yards, and then Tuesday a 40-yard bomb against the starting defense. And let's remember that this is against the starting defense. This is Caleb Williams picking apart that that team. And don't forget, by the way, another person that was showing out, Jack Sanborn, who jumped a route intended for Gerald Everett and almost had an interception. And by the way, if you're interested in that, you can go watch that on X. There's plenty of videos out there showing what the Chicago Bears are able to do right now. Now, they already have two physical types of receivers in DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Allen is a route running savant who should dominate in the slot, and Scott is the vertical threat. He flashed the ability at various points throughout last season, but some of the inconsistent hands and inconsistent accuracy of the quarterback led to only a few of them resulting in big plays. The latter problem could be solved with Williams under center, who is far more accurate at this point than Justin Fields. Has Scott improved his catch concentration? That's the question. So far, what we see has been pretty significant and pretty good. So draft experts always had a high opinion of Tyler Scott. They felt he had untapped potential coming out of Cincinnati. This was about adding mass to his thinner frame and learning how to play the position in more detail. And it is certainly looking like he's at that level where he's getting it done. So shout out, guys. I think we're going to see a lot more of Tyler Scott in the next coming days and weeks as we get ready for this season. This might be a big one. Now, there's two guys on this screen right now, and you got to know about them. One of them you probably know already, but it's going to have to be we're going to have to notice that there's some changes on this defensive line already. On the left over here, next to number 97, you see number 55. That's Jacob Martin. Jacob Martin is having a monster training camp so far. And not to be outdone, Austin Booker is starting to look the part. Now, look, this is very, very early. Austin Booker he's going to be a problem. He's going to be a disruptor against other teams. But for right now, he's still a rookie trying to find his way on this team. He's not ready, quote unquote, for prime time. However, let's talk about this for a few minutes. The Chicago Bears addressed every position on their roster in some form during the offseason. However, plenty of people aren't happy with what seems to be a lack of edge rushers. While the team added Montez Sweat, of course, and then they grabbed Austin Booker, there's still this feeling that they don't have a definitive starter opposite the Pro Bowl, Montez Sweat. But here's the thing. DeMarcus Walker has been that guy. DeMarcus Walker, by the way, looking great in training camp. But observers yesterday noticed something crazy. In obvious pass rush situations, they dropped Andrew Billings out of the line, moved DeMarcus Walker into the inside next to Gervon Dexter, and with Sweat on one side, they would then go with a rotation of Jacob Martin and Austin Booker on the other side. And Jacob Martin and Austin Booker were having a great time of it yesterday. Robert K. Schmitz on Bear Down talked about Jacob Martin and said, this guy is turning into something that the Bears are very, very, very excited about. Are the Bears crazy for thinking this? No. Jacob Martin has been a journeyman for most of his career, serving primarily as a backup. However, there have been flashes of his capability when given opportunities. Now, the question you should probably be asking yourself right now, can he do it on every down? The answer to that, probably not. He's probably not an every down guy. If he were, he'd be a starter in the NFL somewhere at this point. So he's probably a guy who's just going to have some good plays every once in a while. And is that good enough right now for this team? And I think the answer to that is going to be a resounding yes, because Austin Booker never takes a play off. He has a motor that doesn't quit. Gervon Dexter is starting to look like a stud. Montez Sweat, we know what he brings. Andrew Billings, you can't run around Andrew Billings. When you start to be critical of this defensive line, you can talk about that edge. You can talk about that edge rusher position, but Demarcus Walker holds it down from a running perspective. And we've got two guys who seem to be very capable. Now, here's the thing. His biggest sign, Jacob Martin, in 2021, he had 38 pressures and 4 sacks. And guess who his coach was? Lovie Smith. So, Lovie Smith runs the exact same scheme as Matt Eberflus. Defensive ends are tasked with attacking up the field and creating disruption. Jacob Martin proved he could do that. Also, remember, he played on a far less talented defense in 2021. This one has more star power across the board, making his life a little bit easier. The Bears almost certainly would have been more aggressive in searching for help if they didn't think that Jacob Martin was that guy. So, the Bears seem to be pretty happy with what they're building right now. Much of this will be determined by Jacob Martin's performance. So here's what I said was probably going to happen. Yannick Ngakoue is going to be brought in, or Emmanuel Agba, if we can reach down into the wallet and pull those purse strings and get something like that. So this is going to be very, very interesting. What you may end up seeing here. First of all, Andy says on the radio this morning, they were moving Montez Sweat everywhere, which, by the way, that's a fantastic thing. Now you cannot be. Look, they're going to move Montez Sweat to the right. They're going to move him to the left. They're going to let him. They're going to let him work from a stand-up position and rush they're going to let him rush like like Khalil Mack used to. So there's a lot here. And by the way, this is an example of what we were talking about last season. They were not ready because they were still working on fundamentals. This year, they're not working on fundamentals because this team has the fundamentals down. They understand the concepts. They understand what they're expecting to do. And Shane Waldron has simplified the offense so that the offense can really do the same thing. These guys are learning what they need to know to get to this point. So if Jacob Martin acts the part, then here's the thing. Yannick Ngakoue, they're not reaching out for him. Emmanuel Agba, they're not reaching out for him because they're going to have a guy that can do this job on obvious passing downs until Austin Booker is up to speed. Dominic Robinson, maybe he gets a little bit better. You know, there are still questions. There are still questions about this line. And you can't rely. What if Montez Sweat gets injured? You know, things change dramatically at that point. Austin Booker gets thrown into action, and we really get to see what he has right there. He's going to learn how to work, son. So I think that if this plays out right, if Jacob Martin looks the part in preseason, if all of these things play out the way that they should, then we don't need to reach out and we don't need to grab that guy. We don't need a Yannick Ngakoue. We don't need an Emmanuel Agba. We actually have those people on the roster right now capable of doing it. And we should acknowledge here, Jacob Martin at this point is, no offense to Jacob, obviously, but a placeholder for Austin Booker, who we're super high on. So that's going to be interesting. And Crimson says, if they had the line solidified, why would they need to play guys out of position? Well, I don't be. Everybody can't be a specialist. So if you take Andrew Billings, again, this is an obvious passing down. Andrew Billings is a run specialist. He shores up the middle of that line. So he is your run stopper guy. Now, if it's an obvious passing down and you move DeMarcus Walker, also a run stopper, but with pass rushing capabilities, and then you bring in Austin Booker, Jacob Martin on the edge to try to apply that edge, and then you give them some room up in the middle in order to make that move, then you're actually taking advantage of all of the talents of your people. Why would you hold them to a single position when that's what the defense like? If the offense expects you to do things, don't do them, because they're planning for that. So if you have the ability and you have the talent to place people in different positions, just for example, we think it's brilliant the fact that we use Roma Dunze on the edge, or if we use Roma Dunze from the slot. We think it's impressive if you do something like that. You want these people to be stressed. You don't want the offensive line to know all we have to do is double team the edge right here, and we've got Montez Sweat basically out of the game for most of the plays, and all we have to do is be able to account for the rest of the guys. You want him moving around on the line. You want him shocking and surprising people, and you want him coming up Imagine if you go down with a 3 down front and you have Montez Sweat sliding in between other guys just to kind of freak people out. You have to rely on Jack Sanborn. You have to rely on your linebackers to cover those positions, if you will. But to see Montez Sweat start to move around and try to find the right angle, that makes your team better. That's what those blitzing defenses always do. That's why for so many years the Baltimore Ravens just looked like a nightmare because you never know where it was coming from. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. You never knew where that blitz was coming from. You never knew what was happening over there, and you see people moving around. That's the dream. That's the dream. So far, he's looked okay. It seems like Keith Randolph is going to make the roster at this point. That's what it looks like, but he hasn't really established himself and shown out. He's just looked okay. Most people, by the way, have been looking pretty good. By the way, even Velus Jones Jr. looking pretty good at this point in the season. And let's close this out with the man. And guys, I'm telling you right now, this guy is going to shock the league, it looks like. Gervon Dexter, and there's a feature article on Gervon Dexter on ChicagoBears.com today. For the fourth straight day, the Bears conducted non-contact training camp. Sporting a leaner and stronger physique, second-year defensive tackle Gervon Dexter Sr. continues to stand out on the practice field. After a promising rookie season, he followed a strict diet regimen that including running on hills, doing Pilates, and he changed his eating habits. As a result, he reduced his body fat and added lean muscle mass. He was motivated to transform his body because the 2023 second-round pick from Florida aspires to consistently perform at an elite level. I just tried to get in marathon shape. I've noticed that the good ones can do it one or two plays, but the ones that go down as great are able to do it all the way through the fourth quarter. Asked about the most difficult thing to eliminate from his diet, he said, I would say that late night snack. Previously, I would just like, man, one honey bun isn't going to hurt, but I cut that out, and now I feel a lot better. Dexter increased strength and quickness has been evident on the practice field. He's made his presence felt every day inside, batting down passes in 2 of the first 3 workouts. It's a lot different. Being leaner helps me get off the ball faster. It helps me penetrate faster. Wife loves that. A lot of those things, like the 3 technique roll, I can do a little easier because my body is allowing me to do it. Eric Washington lauded Dexter for being so committed to transforming his body, says it speaks to a level of discipline, his desire to be a starter and to be a highly productive starter, to go away and to stay away and to be really to his own devices and manage that part of the offseason in terms of what you consume, how you work, and what type of investment you make. I'm really impressed with that, and it's been paying off. When Dexter comes on the field, on the practice field every day, when he comes into meetings for a young player, he's got blinders on. He appears to be very focused on himself and what he needs to do in particular practice. The level of focus that he has for a second-year player is very uncommon. Having a guy like Montez Sweat in my room highlights that, says Dexter. They've been roommates so far. As they're doing something, probably not roommates, probably in the same room learning from each other. I get to see that in my room, 2 chairs, 3 chairs next to me. He said he watches everything Sweat does, coming in early, hot tub, cold tub, all those things that he does. If I see him doing something, I'm going to do the same thing because he's having the success that I want. Words can't describe this. My body type, my play of style as a penetrator, disruptor, and I was in a defense and I couldn't do that. Kind of had chains on. Now these chains are off. So, guys, it is time to get super excited about the Chicago Bears. Going into this 2024 season, we are about to see a team that I think they're going to take over this league. I think we're going to start looking back on this and we're going to be like, man, we had a lot of questions and we didn't answer everything, but we answered enough that the Chicago Bears now have a top 10 defense. The offense number, 30 in the league last year, 29 in the league last year. This is going to be a top 15-ish, maybe top 20-ish, much better. And by the way, that's no offense and that's no knock on Caleb Williams, but you're going to have to do something special. And if you've got Austin Booker and Jacob Martin and Montez Sweat all wrecking Darnell Wright over and over again, you got to start asking questions about the offensive line. Hopefully we found the pieces, and hopefully it's just a coincidence that Darnell Wright's name keeps coming out because of that edge, and hopefully he's gonna be just fine. But it would be enormous to see this team go from the worst deep offense in the league all the way up to a top 10. That's probably a little prohibitive, but if any team can do it this year, you've got an upgraded quarterback. You've got an upgraded all the receiver positions except the one you already had a tremendous upgrade. You've upgraded your offensive line. You've upgraded your running back room. You've upgraded your tight ends. Everything is in place right now. The only thing left is for this team to coalesce, come together, and start making it happen on the field. So that's my time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chicago Bears, again, they're going to be an incredible team going into this next season. And we're going to find out just how incredible very, very soon. The product on the field. As a matter of fact, in 2 days, I think we're going to have our first open practice. So I hope we see a lot more reports coming. So in the meantime, bear down, go Bears, and fuck Green Bay. We'll see you guys again very, very soon.